So for tonight's practice, I have a yoga strap, a couple of yoga blocks. If you don't have those, anything that sort of will support your body will work. I have a pillow. You could use some throw pillows or a couch cushion. And then I have a blanket. I also have a furry coworker. Got one of those. They come in handy. And sometimes they invade your blanket. So just a heads up. So we're going to use some of these items at different points. But if you've got some yoga props, you can put them nearby so you can reach them. And then we're going to start lying down. I'm going to do a little bit of a support under my legs. Because sometimes laying down on the floor creates a little bit of a little low back curviness for me. So my thought was this blanket, but I guess since my coworker is really obsessed with the blanket, I will use the pillow. So we're gonna stretch out a little bit like a starfish. So kind of taking the arms and legs a little on the wide side. So kind of figure out that generally if I bring the support really close to the top, I can accommodate any side, like however wide I want my legs to go. And then the arms are going to go out nice and wide. And for now, we're just going to let ourselves get heavy into the floor. So we are in the late summer here in Virginia. I'm not sure what's true around the globe, but here where I am, it's late summer. And late summer has a particular sort of vibe to it, which is this kind of, it's slightly lazier. Things slow down just a little bit in the south, anyway, where it's quite hot and sticky. And it also is the season of the element of earth. And so if you practice in a way that sort of tries to harmonize or sort of line up with the seasons, this is the season to begin to sort of experience a little bit more of a sense of nurturing yourself, grounding. The organs that go with this in traditional Chinese medicine are the stomach and the spleen. And the stomach is clearly the organ that receives our nourishment first. And then it, is able to sort that out and break it down so that it can be absorbed by the rest of the digestive system. The spleen is the organ that holds red blood cells in storage so that when they're needed, they can be added to the blood supply. So there are kind of implications for both nourishment and also storing away nourishment for later, right, with both of these organs. And so our practice then, if we're going to harmonize in this way, it kind of becomes a practice of getting in touch with this earth element, of finding ways to nourish ourselves, and we may also store a little bit of energy. So one of the ways, for example, that you might practice is with your eyes closed, so that you can feel yourself moving, but you're not expending as much energy out through your eyes with the gaze, right? So again, in traditional Chinese medicine, there's a lot of thoughts about how we can move qi, or we can delete isn't the right word, diminish our qi by emphasizing the visual. So by allowing ourselves to kind of close that down a little bit, get a little quieter, we give ourselves permission to store a little bit of that qi for ourselves, redirect it. So in this kind of earthy position of just laying heavy on the floor, get in touch with this idea of your, like the bones and the flesh, the part of you that's really earthy, that kind of is of the earth. And if we broke our body down into minerals and stuff, it would be quite of the earth. And theoretically, it will return to the earth when we're done with it. And you can even experience this a little bit by like lifting your head about an inch off the floor and feeling how heavy the head suddenly feels on the neck, and then placing the head back down and letting the head really let go, right? So the neck now is no longer in need of supporting the head. And all those muscles can really let go. And do the same thing with your arms. Like lift your arms a couple inches or so off the floor. And feel the weight of the arms start to build in the shoulder and the chest. And then let the arms again lay back onto the floor, lay on the floor. And then feel the weight of the arm really disappear into the ground. And feel like, can you feel how the chest has let go a little bit, right? And then the same thing with the legs. So we're just going to lift them a little bit off the floor, stretch into them, kind of feel the weight of the leg being suspended. I'm going to lift mine a little bit off this pillow, and feel how the hip flexor and even the back now has to work to support the weight of the legs. And then put them back down and feel that release backwards into the ground that happens because we stopped making that muscle do that job, right? So this quality that we have both of living tissue and also of relaxing, the tissue, like enlivening it and relaxing it. I'll take just a few more breaths, trying to really just let everything get soft. The hip flexors, everything. We're going to let the legs come up so that the feet are on the floor. And then I don't know if you put anything under your legs, but if you did, just take that out. And then we're going to widen the feet out so that they're, if you have a regular yoga mat, you're close to the edges. This yoga mat is a little different, but it's just wide. And then we're going to drop one knee into the center and one knee to the outside. And then reverse that. And let your hip go with you so that you can just go as far as it makes sense to go. If your knee is in pain, don't go that far. And then just back and forth, kind of feeling the legs kind of suspending the pelvis a little bit. One or maybe two more. And then we're going to come back to the center and really just find the spot where the feet are able to rest and the femur bone is able to descend into the hip socket really nicely. So it doesn't feel like the legs want to collapse in or collapse out. They really just feel solid and stable, and for some people that'll be a little wider apart, some people a little closer together, some people a little farther out. So you just have to find your spot. It really depends on the length of the different bones. So the length of your femur bone compared to your shin bones, for example, or how they're positioned in the pelvis at the front or maybe more to the side will determine how that setup actually winds up looking. Once you've got it, the sense is that, again, there's this kind of grounding, earthy quality to it that really feels like the pelvis is very steady and stable. The low back isn't too archy. There might be, you might feel a little arch, especially if your hip flexors are tight. And then there's a sense that the feet and the leg is very solid and stable. It's not going to fall apart, okay? So then we're going to do some work with our arms. Now the first thing to make sure of is that you can reach your arms up over your head without running into anything. Okay? So adjust anything that might be above your head. And then we're going to let the arms rest beside us with the pinky finger on the bottom. We're going to stretch down through the arm toward, like we're trying to touch our heels. And then keep stretching and bring the arms slowly up. And as you're coming up, you're just going to keep stretching through those pinky fingers. Keep stretching, keep stretching. I'm almost trying to lift my upper back up off the floor. And then as I come overhead, everything's going to shift again, but I'm still stretching through my pinky fingers. And then do the same thing coming back. So I'm stretching out through those pinkies. As I start to get to this point, it feels like I'm trying to touch the ceiling. And then I'm trying to touch the floor away from, or the world away from me. And then, I'm trying to touch my heels. And we're gonna do that twice more. Just keep doing that arcing motion, reaching through the arms. Try to feel how that reaching is impacting the body as the arms are repositioning. Feel how the torso kind of changes and morphs with the weight of the arms. And I'm gonna keep on reaching, and one more time, reaching out towards my heels. What is interesting to me too is how the muscles of the arms themselves fire up differently, depending on the angle they have to gravity. So this is very much my triceps lengthening, and then I gotta pick my arms back up, so that feels really interesting. And then as I start to move into this angle, my biceps fire up to really support and hold my arm as I'm trying not to touch the ground yet. So once we're down here, we're gonna let the arms relax for a moment. Just give them a little, like a little shimmy. Just let them get heavy and see what happened. And just that little movement has made it feel like my shoulder has kind of rolled a little closer to the ground than it was at the beginning. It wasn't that big a movement, but it was kind of fun. So I'm gonna bring my arms straight up, and then I'm gonna grab my elbows. And when I do that, there's one arm that's closer to my eyes, my face. And in this case, it's my right arm. So my right arm is going to be the arm that gets tugged on, because it's the arm that's closest to my face, okay? Just remember which arm it is. So I'm going to bring my elbows as close to my chest as they'll go. And it might be like below your chest, near the bottom of your rib cage where they land. And then we're going to, again, stretch through the elbows and draw the arms up and over the head. Kind of nestling the shoulders as best I can. I'm gonna bring the arms back up and over, stretching out through the elbow, and then all the way back to the chest. And now, with my arms in this position, I don't really feel my biceps or triceps firing up to do this work, but wow, do I feel the muscles in my shoulders firing up to do this work. So just noticing the difference. One more time. Reaching up overhead. And then coming back. Now, I'm going to let my elbow kind of hang out here, be about chest height or so. I'm going to grab hold of my right upper arm with my left hand, and I'm pulling my right arm over to the left. What I'm going to try to do simultaneously is get my right shoulder blade to get heavy toward the floor. So I'm pulling my arm to the right, and then I'm trying to get that right shoulder blade to melt back down into the ground. It's not allowed to go very far because I'm holding onto my arm quite firmly. But in the trying to do this, I feel this really interesting kind of space being made under the shoulder blade. So see what's true for you. We're just going to let that arm come back to the ground, and I'm going to shake my right arm. And I want to shake it till it feels like the bones kind of rattle in my wrist and in my hand. Shake it for about another 3 breaths. going to let that arm just really slowly and gently make its home back down on the ground. And then comparing the arm that I just had in the air to the other arm for a moment. Now this arm, my right arm feels light, almost like I made whipped cream out of my right arm. The whole arm feels lighter in comparison to the left arm, which feels quite heavy. And there's a kind of effervescent, pleasant warmth to the left arm to my right arm, which is kind of fun. So just another breath or so here. And then we're gonna grab the arms again up here on the chest. This time now my left arm is up in front. So even though that's not the way that I probably naturally do it, I'm gonna do the other side. So holding onto the elbows and reaching the elbows out, I'm gonna bring them up over my head. Keep stretching up through the elbows, and then keep stretching up through the elbows as we come back. And up through the elbows. Back and up through the elbows. This is my last time doing this guy. My right arm feels so much lighter. In any case, now that I'm here, I'm going to grab that left arm and pull it to my right. Try to let my right side get kind of heavy, and then my left shoulder blade, I'm trying to just let that thing melt back down to the ground. And sometimes I have to change the angle as I work around my own anatomy, so you just work with what you got. On my right side, I feel there's a lot more sensitivity on that side than there is on my left side, but it still is doing the work. I can still feel a little kind of sense of that shoulder opening up in the back. You just feel what you feel. None of this stuff there's no right or wrong. It is what it is. If there's pain, definitely stop doing it, but otherwise carry on. Taking one more breath. And then I'm going to let that arm come back down to the ground, and I'm shaking the left arm. And essentially I want to shake it until it feels kind of bone rattly. About 3 more breaths of shaking my arm. One more. And then again, I'm going to really gently just let it come back down to the ground, almost melty, and then just feel where that landed me. Now, depending on the surface of your mat, you may wind up doing like a tiny little bit of a lift with this thing we're about to do. So we're going to take the right toes and just lift them up, and then we're going to really lightly glide the right heel. You might have to pick your leg up just a little bit to get the glide going, and then until that right leg is all the way straight. And then we're going to spread out the toes, flex the foot, and reach through this hip. So it's like you're trying to push something away with that right foot. And then we're going to glide it right back into place. And again, you might have to do just a little bit of a lift. Do the least amount of lift possible so that there is the most length that we can get here. So gliding the foot out. And if you need to, you can always turn sort of sideways so that you're slightly off your mat. Reach out through the front of this hip, toes spreading out, heel reaching away, and then glide that right leg right back in, over the edge of the mat and everything. And then one more time, toes up, press the heel out, and feel this kind of, it's this Dandasana, like Tadasana mountain pose kind of energy here in this leg compared to this other leg. And then we're gonna just glide this guy back in and feel where that landed us. Ooh, now my right hip feels a little deeper, a little softer. Just notice what's true for you. And then we're gonna do the left side, same idea. So left toes go up, and then as light as you can get on that heel, glide the left foot all the way out until the leg is straight, and then reach through the front of the hip, flex and spread out the toes, flex at the ankle, reach through your heel, and then just glide that leg back into place. Feel where you let the weight get heavy before you do the next one. So toes light, leg is light, reach out through the leg. Toes up, foot flexed, reach through the heel, all the way through the front of the hip. Can you feel it all the way to your ribs even, maybe? And then glide that leg back into place, nice and easy. And then feel the weight of that left side return. And we're going to do this one more time. So left toes are up, reach out through that leg. And again, feeling the whole front of the hip open, toes spread, reach through the heel. And then glide yourself back into place. And then notice, right? So notice if the hips feel a little heavier or lighter or different. It may not. Now I'm going to pick my knees up and bring them over to one side. You can add props. I'm going to take my blanket and stick it underneath, so I've got a little bit of a softer surface. And then I'm going to take my left leg and wrap it around my right leg. Moving my right shoulder girdle just a little bit. I'm going to stretch through my left arm as I bring my legs over to the right. So I've got a little twist in the spine. I've got the sense of stretch through the chest muscle and the outer hip on my left side. I've got my head turned to the left, but you could turn yours the opposite direction if you like. And then breathe really deep and feel the difference between the breath on the right side, right lung. And then feel the left side, left lung. See if you can experience a difference, which lung feels like it expands more, does more of the job of breathing. Two more breaths here. Now, I'm going to come over to my legs with my upper body. So I'm just going to bring it all to the right. Hopefully you can still see me, but we're going to support the head. So I'm going to put my blanket under there. Yoga block works really great too. And then I just want to make sure that I can move my right arm through a full range of motion without smacking the furniture, okay? So, knees are bent, legs are stacked. You can stretch one leg out straighter if you want to. I like it to be really heavy and solid. And then I'm going to take this left arm, because it's the one that's on top, and I'm going to reach out through that left arm. And as I bring it over my head, I'm going to keep stretching out, letting this turn back toward the twist. As soon as I get to this point where it's about chest height or so, I'm going to get softer to bring my arm back, okay? So reaching out over the head, it's a reach the whole way. And then it gets a little softer on the way back. Reach over the head, reach, 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 reach. Oh, now I'm starting to run into furniture. My arm is getting longer. Bring it back one more time. Reach out nice and long. and then coming on back. All right, so now we're here. And we're gonna do one more pose while we're here. Just check it out. My furry coworker is up to something, I can tell. So, trying to see if she's discovered that I have a box of pens. She likes to steal pens. In any case, we're gonna bring this left leg in. I'm watching you. We're gonna straighten this left leg out. And I'm holding onto my big toe with my peace sign fingers. Now, if this doesn't work, your hamstrings are sensitive, something else is happening, you can put a strap or something around your foot. Get as close to your foot as you can so that you have to really traction out your arm. Now, for people with really long arms, you might need to take your leg that way in order to get the traction. So the strap might really be helpful. So I have short arms, so this works just fine. So essentially all I have to do is, like, I'm pushing on the gas, and then my body is gonna stay heavy, but I'm pulling on my shoulder here, like I'm trying to make my arm longer. This pose actually does exist and it has a name. I don't remember exactly how to pronounce it in Sanskrit, but it is Vishnu's couch pose is the name. And it's Vishnu's couch has a particular name and I can't remember it. That's the problem I'm having. It's a snake. It's a couch made out of snakes. How great is that? Doesn't everybody want a snake couch? So you're reaching up, maybe your snake couch down on the bottom part is writhing a bit. You know, trying to hold yourself steady. One more big breath here, and then we're gonna let this go. I'm gonna come back to laying on my side, and I'm just gonna rinse out that left shoulder a little bit with some circles. Now normally when I do the other side I just roll over, but because that then faces me the opposite direction of you and it's harder to hear my voice, I'm going to make a little 180-degree spin, and you may need to do that so that you can still see. I'm just going to roll over here onto my left side. I'm going to do the twist first, but we'll get started over here. In any case, I was not born part slinky. So we're going to take the legs the other way. This I can't do. I can't do that, but I can do this. So, now, my right side's a little tighter. I've got a little tighter hip, a little tighter shoulder on the right. And so I find a little bit more resistance with this side. So just notice what's true for you. Hello. How was that drop back? Seems kind of in the other way that your back moves. Your back doesn't usually make that kind of humpiness. It makes the other kind of humpiness. That's kind of funny. That was kind of funny looking. It is. Okay, 2 more breaths. Someone's got to interact with furry coworkers as they come through. All right. Hopefully it's not too boring for you guys. So I'm just gonna slip this blanket out, bring my shoulder over with my legs. So now I'm laying on my left side. So my left arm is gonna be the one on the bottom. The right arm is gonna be the one that moves. So I just need to make sure I'm not gonna smack a plant or a piece of furniture as I move my arm, okay? So then I'm gonna reach this arm out and really stretch through it as I go up and over. Still reaching, still reaching, still reaching, right? There we go, see, I've made it longer now, I've run into the furniture. So now I can get soft. And so from here, reaching out, really trying to stretch over my ear. Now, if you have any range of motion concerns here, muscles that are kind of out of sorts, that sort of thing, be mindful, and maybe don't go quite all the way around, right? You can stop someplace and come back instead. For me, that whole range of motion is important to do, and it doesn't cause trouble. So one more time around, reaching through my arm, up, and then just bringing it back. And then I'm gonna bring my leg in and get a hold of my big toe. And again, you might use a strap here. That's why I suggested a strap at the beginning. So we're gonna let ourselves kind of traction the shoulder out of it. Hello. Now I've got multiple furry coworkers trying to do things. Nutmeg, don't knock the clock over, Muffin. Don't do it. The day has been a really wild yoga day. Alright, so I'm doing 2 more breaths here. And we're not done with the wildness yet. One more breath. Alright, so we're gonna let go. I'm gonna give this arm a little rinse. Some little circles with my shoulder. And then really gently, because we've been on the floor a long time, we're gonna sit up. So you could take a cross-legged sitting position, or any position for that matter. You can sit up on a blanket, that always feels really nice. Alright, so we're going to let the chin drop, and then we're going to roll the head kind of up and over one shoulder, and then back, and up and over the other shoulder, and back. We're just going to do that a few times, just rolling up and over, and coming back, rolling up and over, and coming back. Now I don't go all the way to the back because it feels too crunchy in my vertebrae, but I do like to do this so that I'm kind of moving at the diagonal, so that I find this front diagonal area as well as this back diagonal. So those are the muscles that really need my attention. And if you find one that feels extra tender, extra in need of attention, you can definitely stay with one for a little while. Okay. So do one more little pattern. Loading the head up. I'm going to take the shoulders up, around, and back. So forward, up, toward the back, and down. 3 or 4 in one direction, and then 3 or 4 in the other. Okay, so then what we want is just for the shoulder to release and for the neck to be stable and the head positioned, so we can do a little naughty shodhana. So we're going to take our peace sign fingers of our dominant hand. So I'm right-handed, so it's my right hand. And those can either rest right on your forehead, or you can curl them in. And then you're going to operate with your ring finger and your thumb, your nostrils. Now the first step in this particular thing is make sure you can actually breathe through both of your nostrils. So my right nostril is a little challenged, so I'm not going to close my left nostril all the way off, because then I won't be able to breathe. Now, this may shift, it often does, as I go along, but instead, when I'm breathing, inhaling or exhaling through the right nostril, I'm going to just simply pay attention to that nostril, even though the work will probably largely be done by the other nostril, okay? So first, nice big inhale. Big deep exhale. And then we're going to inhale through the left nostril. Switch over, exhale through the right. Now again, I'm going to leave my left nostril open just a little bit for that. But stay focused on the right. Inhale. And then switch. So we're inhaling. and then switch. Inhaling. And switch. Inhale. Switch. Exhale. Inhale. Switch to exhale. So we're going to do that about 4 more rounds. You're just switching every time it's time to exhale. Try to be gentle. Do one more round. Now you're going to end this after you've exhaled through your left nostril the next time. And just pause for a moment. Be wherever the practice brought us tonight. Dealing with whatever distractions might be going on around you. Just see if you can stay present for your own inner experience. Thank you so much, yogis, for joining me for our Monday night reboot. I haven't decided what to call this yet, but we're trying reboot tonight. It's just a way to sort of, like that first day back, maybe after the weekend, you get back to work, and you just need a moment to come back home to yourself, because Mondays can be wild. My Monday's been kind of crazy. There's even a dance party going on around me while I was hanging out. Thank you so much. Let's have a big breath together. Big inhale. And a big sigh. Enjoy the rest of your night. Namaste. Maybe have a dance party at your house.